Hello everyone, and now welcome to a game. This game is going to be between Angry Acolyte and Teddster, taking place here on Shallow Grave version 1.5. Alright, Acolyte summoning up that Crypt and that, well, Altar of Darkness, no big surprises. And Acolytes working their way and, well, be able to summon up those buildings and then head on back. Meanwhile, well, Peon's doing a little bit of the dance, and it looks like he nearly has full saturation here. Teddster, I believe you can use that rally trick when you have 4 peons on a perfectly diagonal gold mine. I don't think this is fully saturated, but I think, well, his gold should be at a very much faster pace. 12250, yeah. Getting significantly more gold than his opponent, even though his opponent is currently now up on 5 acolytes. All right, so we'll have to keep a close eye on that. 1, 2, 3, yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. Yep. All right. So Teddster is somehow able to get near full saturation on this gold mine. So, you know, those small advantages, being able to execute gameplay at a high level to get a little bit of a second advantage over your opponent, training up a unit slightly faster, being able to get tech slightly faster, and we do know all of that eventually compounds. Alright, good number of peons currently working. We are looking at a war mill first before we are even getting up a barracks, so that's an interesting call. Teddster may be trying to get into tier 3 quickly, and with this war mill also being placed down, should be able to, well, perhaps place down a barracks to kind of protect some of these units as an acolyte going to come around and do a little bit of scouting. It is going to be a Death Knight going up against what I believe to be a Farseer based on what I'm seeing from the, well, from everything, and now clicking on that Altar of Storms. We are getting up another Orc Burrow as well. There's that tech to tier 2 extremely fast. Meanwhile, Angry Acolyte needing a little bit more time perhaps. Is he going to try and tech to tier 2 quickly, or perhaps is he going to try to go for an expansion? Scroll of Town Portal quickly sold, picks up a Rod of Necromancy and a Ritual Dagger. Perhaps going to try and go after some of these units here. There's a quick Death Coil, there's a Lightning Shield, and that was perfectly executed there. That Lightning Shield gathering damage across all of those other units. Death Knight needs to back away, otherwise he's going to accidentally kill the angry, or that mage there. Meanwhile, the Farseer going to be coming across. Is he going to be able to rack up damage? Who's going to get the last hit? Farseer get the last hit. The Farseer get 2. No, the Death Knight get the last hit on the other one there. There's another Death Coil to try and save another low hit point Ghoul there, as that Ghoul now runs back onto Blight, down to 116 hit points, but should be able to get away. There's that tech to tier 2. Angry Acolyte switching and pivoting from his initial strategy. I don't know if he needed to sell that Scroll of Town Portal, but it looks like he is taking faster to tier 2 because of it. Death Knight now making its way down as well. We're going to be looking at a handful of ghouls, perhaps trying to put in pressure onto some of these wolves, as the low hit point ghoul now going to be forced to back away again. We're going to be seeing a little bit of damage here across some of those units, as the wolves are purposely going after the ghouls and not racking any damage against any of those skeletal minions. No real reason compounding damage onto summoned units at all. Very nicely played by both of these players. Coming back down to the south side here, the wolves are going to get cleaned up. Farseer still sitting at level 1 after all this time. There is no Voodoo Lounge, and there's actually nothing else back here. No barracks, no bestiary. Teddster going to be going for no barracks, and perhaps double bestiary when the tier 2 is completed. All right, damage back onto the onto that ghoul there. Ghoul, however, taking a Death Coil, and now the Death Knight with Unholy Aura able to move, well, slightly faster than that Farseer, and it will get in a little bit of damage again. All right, tier 2 is now done, going straight into tier 3. There's one bestiary, there is a Shadow Hunter, but I do not remember the first time I've seen an Orc player try to go to tier 3 that fast. Envenomed Spears may become the strategy, as the Farseer now making its rounds out. Going to go ahead and resummon once again. Farseer looking to back away. There is dual bestiary. Yeah, it does look like it is going to be Wind Riders with Envenomed Spears as the surprise moment, trying to just poke down a bunch of units. Farseer are going to, well, finish off that Renegade Wizard. Down it goes. Perhaps going to try and finish off the rest of these Brigands here. And now, off to the north, Death Knight with an Illusion and a bunch of Ghouls trying to clean up the Forest Troll High Priest Creep Camp and this Forest Troll Warlord. Shadow Hunter is out on the battlefield. Tech to Tier 2 nearly completed. Are we going to see a quick tech to Tier 3? Perhaps. As we do see the Shadow Hunter, well, these strongholds already halfway done. Wind Riders not being trained yet. A little surprised by that. Why go for those early Bestiaries if you are not gonna go for those early Wind Riders and then get some Envenom Spears down? That is the question here. Both Bestiaries are now done. Perhaps Teddster just not realizing the missed opportunity and the missed time to train up units. All right, there's a quick Hex there, and it looks as though, yeah, the Forest Troll Trapper will get taken down. A little bit of experience going to be added in. A second hero adding in just that much more ranged damage and going after these Acolytes and other units again. All right, Bestiaries are finally training up those Wind Riders, but those Bestiaries could have trained up significantly more longer. So timing is going to be key here. We can see there's another round. Yeah, had plenty of opportunity, plenty of time to get those Wind Riders out onto the battlefield. And remember, this is a small window of opportunity, and it was not executed well. Farseer getting up to level 2. Shadow Hunter finishing off the Brigand here. We're looking at a little bit of scouting by the Skeletal Minion as the Death Knight and the Lich venture forward. We are getting up a Halls of the Dead. We can see a Sacrificial Pit already up and a Shade now making its way out across the battlefield. Coming across here, Wind Rider is going to try and engage. There's a quick Hex. There's a quick Ensnare onto one of those Wind Riders here. More Bestiary, more Wind Riders going to get trained up. Envenom Spear is going to get added in. There's that reinforced defenses. And once more, well, kind of behind on supply. So currently sitting at 38 over 41. Wants to train up another unit, but is currently one supply short. Gargoyles are out here on the battlefield. There's a quick Hex there. And there's a quick, well, was that a Wand of Negation? Yeah, Wand of Negation used. Wow, nicely picked up. So are we going to perhaps see the Gargoyle quickly get taken down? Wow, that's going to be a round of volleys there. We're going to see some big damage. Level 3 now on the Death Knight. Death Coil trying to save up the Lich. That's going to be one dead Gargoyle there. So Wand of Negation used to try and remove that Hex there, as the Gargoyles are going to be needed to really dive onto those Wind Riders and take them down. Wind Riders do have slightly better, or have significantly better range, but they do not have a faster attack or actually higher attack speed. 61 to 70 melee, so that damage is actually going to be higher, and also once they are within combat range, going to be much faster in dishing out that damage. All right, Farseer. Well, going to be some easy death here. We're going to be looking at perhaps a little bit of poking. Are we going to see some death down there? Yeah, there's the poison already completed. The Wind Riders really need to go after some of these units and take advantage while they can. You can see one round of those Envenom Spears, how much damage they're doing, as Teddster is now looking to fully saturate, perhaps get into 50 over 50 supply. Gargoyles getting into position here. We can see that it is going to be Acid Bomb coming across from the Alchemist. Alchemist going to be able to easily do a little bit of damage over time here. Meanwhile, the Wind Riders are looking to back up. This would be an interesting call. If Teddster actually got his own Goblin Alchemist, Acid Bomb is one of those damage over time abilities that can actually kill a unit, unlike the Envenom Spears of a Wind Rider. So if you apply a large number of Envenom Spears to a single unit, that the poison stacks, but it can't really kill the unit unless there is that a little bit addition of that Acid Bomb. So we'll see how this goes as we see illusions now being summoned up as well. All right, perhaps that's going to take that first Hex, as that Gargoyle is in position there. There's Destroyers joining in on the field as well. We're trying to get into a proper position here, as a couple of Watchtowers now trying to get set up. Are we going to see some damage? Scroll of Speed, Acid Bomb applied here, and now here we are. Here we go. Going to go straight into the damage. Gargoyle getting taken down. Oh, another Gargoyle going to get taken down pretty easily. Healing Wave trying to keep units alive. Wind Rider trying to back away. That's going to be a dead Destroyer. If it's not careful, it's going to try to back away again. However, how much damage can be done? Farseer gets up to level 3. Level 2 Healing Wave bouncing around again. There's a Death Coil to try and save, but that Destroyer does not look long for this world. All right, meanwhile, the Watchtowers are now done. So a beautiful ground game, a beautiful air game as the Ghouls are trying to finish things off here. Units are trying to retreat back. Death Knight could get a Death Coil off here. Acid Bomb or the attack of the... Oh, there's a Death Coil trying to finish things off again. All right, Clarity Potions, a little bit more Healing Wave. Gonna go ahead and try to bounce around once more. The repairs, there is spiked barricades as well. So those Ghouls are absorbing quite a bit of damage as now they're back out here onto the battlefield. One Ghoul now down. However, the Wind Riders with... Well, not that fast. There goes another Hex. There goes another Ghoul. Level 3 now on the Shadow Hunter. More units just constantly absorbing damage. And the Wind Riders are doing exactly what they need to do. Own the skies, pick off units as Angry Acolyte now down to 28 over 50 supply. A tiny fortress should be picked up here from the Voodoo Lounge. An expansion perhaps pickup would work out extremely well. There's going to be some healing salve, some clarity potion use, and, well, a little bit of time. No tiny Great Hall still. All right, so no tiny Great Hall, even though the Watchtowers here are properly set up. Are we perhaps going to be looking at some more creeping instead? And yeah, that's going to be the case. You can see how much damage over time, well, that's going to take as the Rogue Wizard and now perhaps the Assassin going to get taken down. Farseer, Shadow Hunter, level 3. A Shade is keeping tabs on that Farseer, so that is incredibly important as we see a lot of envenoms or a lot of poison spread across all of these Wind Riders here. Shadow Hunter does have level 2 Healing Wave, should be able to mitigate much of that damage there. Perhaps going to try and pick up a little bit more. Perhaps getting up to level 4 on the Farseer would be exactly what the Doctor ordered, as we're looking at, well, constantly switching targets, going after the Assassins and that Rogue Wizard as well. Death Knight, Lich, Goblin Alchemist, 3-1-1. Lich nearly at level 2. Lich does have that Wand of Negation. No Orb of Corruption. No, I take it back. Death Knight with the Orb of Corruption, as he wants to be able to attack up as well. There's a big Frost Nova. That's going to be a problem. Are we going to see a Healing Wave bouncing around? There's a Healing Wave bouncing around right there. Low hit point Wind Rider taking down Chain Lightning, trying to bounce around. Destroyer, big Frost Nova, 42 supply compared to 38. Angry Acolyte able to push back the other way. There goes another Wind Rider. That faster movement speed Gargoyle, very fast movement speed compared to the Wind Riders, just typically fast, as the Shade is still keeping track of that Farseer and that Shadow Hunter. 3-2-2 going up against a 4-3 right now. Shadow Hunter could have a potential creep jack here. That Shade is worth its weight if it waits for this Shadow Hunter to try and engage. And no, turning back around, we're going to be first appearance right there. Are we going to see a Healing Wave? No, we are not. There's going to be a dead Wind Rider. Again, Troll Bat Riders trying to make their way over. Level 4 now on the Shadow Hunter. Healing Wave getting back some more. And this is the problem with Wind Riders. At 570 hit points, they just are not that durable. For a race that has... that has Grunts and Kodo Beasts and Taurens, the three highest hit point units in their categories, having such low hit point air units is a little bit of an insult there. The Destroyers themselves, 850 hit points and are magic immune compared to these 570 hit point Wind Riders. Farseer, Chain Lightning finishes off a Gargoyle, 41 supply compared to 38. We are looking, oh, there's that tiny Great Hall here. Teddster finally getting that economic advantage. He'll be able to crank out more units, but can he really, close out the distance enough? All right, Farseer going to try and engage here. Oh, Shade, there goes an Ensnare down. And, well, we're looking at the Forest Troll Warlord, already down to a third of its normal hit point. Who's going to get the last bit of experience? And the Farseer are going to go ahead and pick it up, getting a Healing Ward and trying to retreat back. There goes another Frost Nova. And, yeah, if Blizzard needs a reason to understand why, Wind Riders are just not viable late game, I think this has just been a perfect example. Teddster, yes, he didn't play the absolute perfect game, Could have gotten those Wind Riders a little bit earlier, a little bit more effective, but at the same time, he had won a couple of key battles, but is now up against the ropes as these Wind Riders are just too supply heavy as well. At 4 supply each, you simply just cannot mass up enough of them in order to be effective against a similar sized army. 44 supply compared to 48, but you look at this, and the total hit points here is less than 2,500. There is just so many more hit points here as they're going to try and engage again. All right, going to try to poke apart once more. There goes that Destroyer. Destroyer down to 264 hit points. He's going to be taking quite a bit of damage. You can see that damage over time, even with the heals, does add up pretty consistently. All right. Also, the fact that there's this shade here means that Angry Acolyte just always knows exactly where his opponent is, as we're going to see, well, there goes the Ogre Magi. Death Knight sitting at level 4. Chain Lightning bouncing around again. Perhaps a low hit point Ghoul going to get taken down. Destroyer taking quite a bit of damage. Low hit point Wind Rider trying to retreat back. Farseer does go after that Ghoul there, and the units look to fall back once more. Troll Bat Riders, 48 supply compared to 82, compared to 49 over 50. It's just the supply count, even though it looks relatively even. Well, Destroyer's quickly taken down. Wind Rider's now falling. Destroyer's going to try and engage again. And Wind Riders are they going to go after the Destroyer? No, another big heal as the Lich gets up to level 3. Healing Wave bouncing around again once more. 44 supply compared to 82. 44 supply over 82 compared to 43 over 50. The Destroyers once more making their way. The Death Knight having the Orb of Corruption and the ability to shoot up, such a big deal. That Shade keeping track, and Teddster perhaps trying to figure out a way to close out this game. He does have 2-0 weapon upgrades as well, but even with those weapon upgrades, it doesn't feel like it's enough to finish off those Destroyers, especially with a, 400 hit point burst heal nearby with that Death Knight. Obsidian Statue joining in on the battle again, perhaps providing mana and hit points. We're going to see some damage. Oh, Destroyer, that's going to be a badly positioned Destroyer there. 43 supply compared to 52 as the Wind Riders are getting ready to dive in. There's a Chain Lightning, Troll Bat Riders, Gargoyles going straight after units again. Wind Rider down to 38 hit points. He's going to, one gets taken down. There goes another Destroyer, still trying to add up a little bit more damage. There's that negative armor there, so taking bonus 22% from that because of that Orb of Corruption debuff. All right. We do not see a Haunting of the Gold Mine here. Both sides still looking to engage. Destroyers, 450 range. Wind Rider, also 450 range. The attack speed is actually faster on the Destroyer. All right, are we going to get ready to engage here? There's an Acid Bomb. All right, Lich could be in trouble. Lich has an Invul Potion, cannot use it. Level 5 now on the Farseer and that Shadow Hunter. That may actually have been enough. Getting the Hex onto the Lich to prevent, and then Teddster is actually victorious. 52 supply compared to 38. That last little bit of damage, and the fact that this economy off to the side was able to, just crank out more units. Yeah, Haunting of the Gold Mine here. Angry Acolyte able to do a lot, but not enough in the end. Going back and forth, yeah, the additional 2-0 upgrades, enough there. Death Knight didn't really get all the creeping that I expected. Alchemist was able to attack onto those units as well. So just a lot of trading going back and forth. Let me know what you guys thought about this game in the comments below, and also whether or not you felt like this was a premature GG by Angry Acolyte. It didn't feel like Angry Acolyte was down just quite yet, but Teddster, remember, does have dual level 5 heroes and also has an operational expansion that is pretty much untouchable with these spiked barricades and these reinforced defenses. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Let me know what you guys thought about this game in the comments below.